Hey everybody, this is Joe. I'd like to go ahead and take a look at the Q2 financial update from yesterday that Tesla released, and we'll take a look at those results and see how they pertain to Giga Texas. And then based on this information, I'm updating the timelines that we discussed on the 6th of July video, and we'll be looking at each of the products. What does this information mean? What are the projections? And then a roll-up of the master timeline chart that we'll be using for Giga Texas. So I thought that this was an interesting topic by itself, so I thought I would make a standalone video with just this information, and I hope that you find it helpful. So let's look at a few excerpts from the report itself. Starting with this one, they mentioned that Gigafactory Texas has continued to progress through Q2 as we've been watching on the videos. And the interesting part is that commissioning has begun in some areas of the factory, and that's probably the stamping machine area, the body in white area, some of the casting area, and the paint shop, and some portions of the general assembly area that we've seen as well. Looking at the installed capacity chart, they show Model Y's construction possibly late 2021 for the first initial production now. And the Cybertruck will be following the Model Y and probably sometime in 2022. So those are some changes, but that's actually consistent with the timeline chart and the insider information that I've been presenting for a while. The Tesla Semi is still in development. I know that there's some discussion about it being done in Nevada. I think some people are reading some of that out of context because they're using Nevada as some of the testing for prototype lines and possibly some of the initial production, but I still believe it's on slate for Giga Texas, but it's probably going to be sometime in mid-2022, which is actually still consistent with the information that I've been presenting up to this point. And I think it's the delay of the Cybertruck until after Model Y and the semi-truck into 2022 is what most of Wall Street is focusing on right now. The next area of the report I'd like to go over is concerning the 4680 battery cells. Out of their prototype facility in Cato, California, they've now validated the performance and the lifetime of the 4680 battery cells, which means that they are suitable for vehicle use now. And now they're turning their focus on validating the manufacturing process. They have about 10% of it remaining that they have to do some engineering fixes and corrections to some of the equipment to be able to ramp that up to volume production. And Elon stated that there is a lot of quantity of equipment that's been ordered and will be delivered to Giga Texas soon. We've seen even a stand-up of a facility down in San Antonio to support that. However, this validation of the manufacturing process may cause some of that equipment to have some last-minute adjustments as well. So we'll have to monitor that, and we'll see if we start observing the equipment arriving at the facility. And I'm also kind of wondering if this may be affecting the cathode plant production foundation on the east side a little bit as well. We'll have to monitor that. And this next section of the report has to do with the production of the Model Y vehicles at Giga Texas by the end of 2021. I know that there's been some discussion and some rumors being thrown around on social media that Cybertruck was going to be made this year. I've been saying consistently that that doesn't make sense because there's a lot of equipment and production facility work remaining for that to happen, and it looks like Model Y is in fact going to be the first one. They also say that due to limited availability of the battery cells and global supply chain challenges, they've moved the semi-truck program into 2022. And as most of you know, in the timelines that I've been showing that is the summer of 2022 anyway. So it's probably still in that same ballpark, and I'll be keeping that in the timeline chart that we'll be going over in a minute. And finally, it says that they are continuing to make progress on the Cybertruck. They mentioned that they're moving from the alpha to the beta build now. They should have that done by the end of the year. But the priority at Giga Texas will be to get the Model Y up first and then the Cybertruck following the Model Y. And in the report, they shared two images that has to do with the Model Y production I'd like to go over. Here in the body in white facility, we see the robots and the production line being used to manufacture the bodies. And if you look closely, there's castings for the front and rear in these photos. And then moving down to the stamping machine facility, as I've shown with pictures inside as the development of the stamping machine is coming along, the Schuler stamping press here looks like it's nearly functional now, and probably one of those parts of the factory that's being commissioned that they mentioned. So let's turn our attention to the timeline charts and see what updates there may be. This is for the main factory construction. Really, this is the same as we've been showing all along with the passing the 1-year construction just a week ago, and then now with the estimated first substantial completion target date the first week of October or so. You can see the definition of first substantial completion here again. And we also know from the second quarter financial reports that some initial production areas or equipment have been commissioned to sustain this target date. And a slight revision to the timeline for the Model Y production. It looks like it's probably going to be in the fourth quarter of this year rather than maybe at the very end of third quarter. But there's still a lot that has to be done to be able to hit these targets, and everything has to go right. Still expecting it probably the end of the fourth quarter with the volume production into 2022. And we also, as mentioned again, the Model Y will be produced first, and then the Cybertruck, and then later on the semi-truck. So looking at the Cybertruck timelines based on the information we got from the second quarter financial results, I've now pushed it into the latter half of the first quarter, or perhaps into the early part of second quarter of 2022. Again, Model Y will be first, followed by the Cybertruck. And again, there's a lot of the factory that still remains to be put in to be able to support Cybertruck. One of the biggest ones is the casting machine and the 8,000 ton Gigapress, which has not even arrived yet. So those will be things that we monitor as construction continues. As far as the 4680 construction and manufacturing process, kind of move that now to the November to the March timeframe. There's a window there. We'll have to see how the equipment is delivered and installed, what changes that have to be done, and also how this may affect the cathode processing plant. Elon did mention that they do have a fallback plan for Giga Texas with the Model Y, and that is using a non-structural pack with the 2170 cells initially. So that would be used to bridge this gap and get Model Y production moving. And as we've kind of already talked about with the Semi, it's been pushed to 2022. I'm thinking it's still going to be probably summer of 2022 until any real production happens there. It may be in Nevada first and then move to Giga Texas as they work out the production and the equipment necessary for that. But this will be something we monitor, but it'll be clearly after this Model Y and Cybertruck. So wrapping everything up onto one single timeline, this is the timeline chart that I have right now for Giga Texas construction and production all the way out through mid-2022 and then continuing on. Again, these are my personal assessments of what's going on in timelines. They are based on a lot of insider information, what I see on the ground, and the second quarter results from Tesla itself. There's a lot that still needs to be done, some pretty aggressive scheduling. I'll continue to update these timelines as we go, but I hope that you found this discussion and the timelines helpful. And don't worry, we'll be back flying tomorrow at Giga Texas. We'll be looking with fresh eyes with all of this information, and we'll see how the progress continues across the site. So look for the video tomorrow. And as always, thanks for watching.